Hello, and welcome to another episode of the CapTivate to MoTivate podcast series. In the previous episode, we explored the purpose and benefit of I am affirmations and how they can help you recharge and refocus positive vibrations into your day. Today, we will take a look at the concept of pivoting and how essential this skill is in charting out our goals, aligning with our values, and establishing our life's purpose. Some of you may know, but most are unaware, that I spent a large chunk of my life as a basketball player. From elementary school until college, I spent hours upon hours on the court working on various skills and techniques to be more competitive and to make my mark. As is the case for a lot of young people, I saw excelling in sports as a ticket out of an environment that I did not feel was best suited for me to grow into adulthood and that gave me access to new knowledge, experiences, and opportunities. I was pivoting into my purpose before I even realized what I was doing. I initially went to college on a full scholarship to play basketball, but quickly learned that the school, team, and environment were absolutely not for me. Financial stress had been relieved learning that my studies would be paid for. However, with my mother's help, I had to figure out a different move that would help me to continue my student-athlete journey. Another opportunity presented itself at a HBCU where my mother's pivoting had afforded her a relationship with the women's coach, and I had a tryout for a walk-on position on their team. I was initially offered a spot that was vacated by a player who was pregnant. However, learned later that she had decided to return to the team and a scholarship slot was no longer available. I was told that I would still be a welcome member of the team, but there would be no scholarship money that could be offered at that time. I had to reposition and pivot my energies towards finding a school that would accept me with shortened notice and where I might be able to also be a member of their basketball team. I reached out to a coach who had heavily recruited me while I was in high school and playing AAU at a much smaller D3 school, but it was a decision that afforded me the opportunity to play as well as complete my education. I just had to figure out how I was going to pay for it. There were many obstacles that arose while I was in undergraduate school and while I was playing on their team that I won't fully go into detail about because that would make this a super long episode. But things didn't pan out as planned. My passion for basketball waned following a serious injury and going through rehabilitation to return to the court. My confidence, skill, and abilities have been altered with my injury, and I wasn't sure how I would benefit the team going forward. I worked hard to get back to optimum playing condition, but it wasn't enough. I had to say goodbye to my goal of continuing to play basketball after college. But that is not all that came with this change. Little did I realize that from that day on, I will be establishing, reestablishing, and further establishing my footing for stronger pivots towards my life's purpose. Going back for a moment, when a young person is first learning the rules and concepts of basketball, one of the earliest concepts is that of your pivot foot. Yes, we learn to catch, dribble, pass, and shoot, but it's what we do when we pick up the ball that can make or break what happens next. Your pivot foot is your opportunity to overcome a roadblock to make another option. If you have picked up your dribble, stop, and your shoot or pass option has been taken away by your opponent, having your pivot foot established gives you an option to change your decision, whether it be a pass or a shot. An established pivot foot also allows you to pause, to call a timeout. In this case, forward movement is halted to give an opportunity to consult with your coach and team members to develop a different plan. 2020 was definitely a year of the pivot. The way in which we lived our lives, conducted our business, supported our families, and educated our children changed outside of our control. Adjustments had to be made in order to keep up, and some continue to experience difficulty in defining a plan or strategy that works best for them in the midst of the turmoil and chaos that the pandemic has caused. Restaurants have had to pivot their business plan and outlook away from their typical dine-in services by trying to find how to maximize income through takeout, delivery, outdoor dining, and other ways to keep their businesses afloat. Schools had to figure out how to educate children as seamlessly as possible so that their education didn't fall behind, but there were other aspects of this decision that complicated things for educators and parents alike, as well as has had a detrimental effect on many students overall. People who were accustomed to working in an office environment may have been forced into work from home scenarios and had to figure out how to maintain a work-life balance when the ideal of such seemed impossible. We prepared ourselves for life, but as per usual, life found a way to throw a wrench into our plans on one of the grandest scales that we have seen in our lifetime. While we have all been forced into a pivot situation, we can also take back power in making plans towards reestablishing ourselves and our options and opportunities towards success. First and foremost, consideration has to be given to yourself and how you are feeling in the moment, as well as identifying what it is that you need right now. Who can you consult with or talk to in order to further figure out what your first step towards your next step will be? Having a plan or playbook is wonderful, but what you do in those unforeseen instances is how you further strengthen your footing for stronger and more intentional pivots in life. You have to strengthen yourself holistically, leaning on the supports of knowledgeable and encouraging people, finding inner strength, confidence and focus, aligning with your higher power, and having the confidence to try. Nobody said that it would be easy, and I'm not here to say that it is. As with anything else of importance, you have to be dedicated and diligent even when times get hard or overwhelming. If you need to take rest, by all means take it, but quitting is not an option. Doing so would be like walking off the court in the second quarter because the other team is ahead, without giving every effort to perform at your highest ability to have a chance at winning. If you quit, that's it. And like I said before, quitting is not an option. Perhaps it is exploring new jobs and career options when you find that what you have now is insufficient or unfulfilling. Or maybe it's figuring out how to further your education in a way that doesn't cause too much of a financial bind or take away from your other life responsibilities too much. Or it could be learning a new skill and building upon your innate talents and abilities as not only a means of self-care, but also as a means of income. When you sit back and recognize that you are not aligned with your purpose, whatever that may be, you have a choice. You can either continue to do what you've always done and get the same results, or try something new and different to see if you have a more favorable outcome. Pivoting does not always equate to leaving if that is not something you desire to do. For me, it meant recognizing my skill and ability and looking for other opportunities within my current place of employment, since just leaving my job is not an option at the moment. I also needed to pivot my focus and energies in directions to explore other avenues, much like me starting this podcast, being more creative, as well as seeking out other opportunities for my ongoing growth, not only as a professional, but as a progressive thinker and doer. To me, in order to productively pivot into your purpose also means being a lifelong learner. This is a concept I first heard when I was in undergraduate school, and is one that I have carried with me nearly 20 years later. We may get older, but we should never stop growing, maturing, and learning. My hope is that this concept has been clearly conveyed, whether you are an avid sports enthusiast or not, as a way to show how sometimes when we are met with adversity or happen upon a roadblock, if we remain grounded while having the flexibility and willingness to swivel our energies and efforts in a different direction, we can maintain possession of our opportunity to score and ultimately win. Thank you yet again for continuing on this journey with me and CapTivate to Motivate. Stay tuned for future episodes and motivational content, and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube at CapTivate to Motivate. I can also be found on Clubhouse at Natasha Benjamin. As always, please share this podcast with a family member, friend, colleague, or anyone else in your network that you feel might find this beneficial. I am honored to be able to play the part of coach in assisting you with pivoting into your purpose, as well as a teammate as we continue to strive to overcome obstacles that may present themselves in our paths.